now it is time to get into our NFL power rankings. We see a lot of other people do this, and we wanted to get in on the fun too. It's fun after 1 week because we get to look back on this and either realize how smart or how stupid we were. So, Mike, we're going to go from 5 to 1. Keep the suspense up. Who is your number 5 team in the NFL right now?
My number 5 team in the NFL is 0-1, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals.
You have the Bengals at 5?
I do have the Bengals at 5. Their defense looked great in week 1. They had the worst game of Joe Burrow's career and still should have won were it not for having a backup long snapper.
Okay, that's true.
Like, this is a very good team. This is a team that is built to play in pretty much any type of game, too. And I think we'll see their offensive line gel as the season goes on. But I love what I saw from this defense. This defense does not have a lot of holes, not a lot of places to attack. And they really shut down an offense that has a lot of receiving weapons. And I get that they got Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, but there weren't like plays that Trubisky left on the football field. This is just a very good defense. So yeah, I'll trust that Burrow bounces back, becomes the Burrow we saw, maybe even takes the next step from the Burrow we saw a season ago, which then to me easily puts the Bengals in the top 5.
I'm not overreacting super hard to the Cincinnati Bengals. I wouldn't put them in the top 5. They're not in my top 5, but I do truly believe that the lack of preseason snaps, the lack of game reps that Burrow had, were a big reason why you saw the turnovers to start the game in the first half. So I don't expect that to be a major problem moving forward. Look, there were a couple of throws, especially that first interception, the one that Minka was able to cut from, that you go, okay, well, Burrow doesn't have the arm strength for that one anyways. All right, so you're going to see a handful of those because Burrow doesn't have the strongest arm. But a couple of those other ones were just bad, man. And I do not think that's going to happen again for Joe Burrow. So I'm not overreacting to the Bengals, but I do think you're crazy for having them at number 5. There are so many other good teams who played really well, and Cincinnati, they did. They came out of the gate and unfortunately got a loss because of a lot of mental mistakes that they had. So I wouldn't have them in the top 5, but my number 5, to start this off, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, I was really impressed with the Philadelphia Eagles. They were able to really take it to the Detroit Lions last week, and I feel like they were able to play exactly the brand of football they wanted to play, and were unbothered about it. It did not seem like the Detroit Lions were really able to do anything. Okay, when you look at the Eagles, they were number 1 in the NFL in EPA per play when rushing last year. Now, that's going to be their bread and butter. You could say, oh, passing the EPA is much higher. Okay, well, this is the Eagles' identity. So I'm judging them off of what they are obviously going to do. Last year, they were number 1 in the NFL. After week 1, guess what? They are number 1 again. But I think the big reason why I'm really bullish on the Eagles right now, last year Jalen Hurts had an adjusted completion percentage of 73.7%. After week 1, what we saw with the Detroit Lions, you got A.J. Brown in there. Devontae Smith didn't even get a catch, and yet we're above 80. We're at 83.3 adjusted completion percentage after week 1. I thought Jalen Hurts looked much more comfortable in the pocket while still being that rushing threat. I feel like we are starting to get the best version of the Philadelphia Eagles offense, especially with A.J. Brown as a certified number 1 wide receiver there for them. So you take into the defensive additions that they had there as well. I get that they let Detroit back in the game, and that wasn't so great, but I feel like the Eagles are a very, very strong team. They got a softer schedule. I think there's a chance that they could even get the number 1 seed in the NFC because of how well that team was playing overall, especially the way that Jalen Hurts played this past weekend.
Yeah, I do think they're good. I think they're a top 10 team. They also just beat the Lions by 3. It was the Lions.
They're restoring it.
Lions were picking second last year. So
good thing we don't have Eric on the show.
We'll see.
Eric would take those fighting words.
I know. We'll see as.
Okay, who's your number 4?
4th team, Los Angeles Chargers. I'm very excited to see how this defense evolves again when J.C. Jackson comes back. But I think we already got a taste of what Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack is going to look like, and it's going to be a problem for opposing offense. 5 combined sacks in week 1. Woo! I get that it's Raiders' offensive line, but I think we've seen enough football from both of these guys to know that it's not really going to matter what offensive line it is. Like, they're going to win their matchups. Not a lot of teams in the NFL have 2 tackles. And so 1 tackle is going to get exposed week in and week out. And that's a problem that everyone that faces them is going to have to deal with. So Chargers coming in at number 4, obviously the offensive side of the ball. We know all about that, but defense side of the ball, much different animal this season.
Yeah, I'm sticking right with you. I've got the Chargers at number 4 as well for certainly a lot of the reasons that you named. When you look at EPA per play when passing, they were 2nd in the NFL behind only the Kansas City Chiefs this past weekend. And honestly, Mike, it could have been better. Could have been even better, right? Joe Lombardi, I think, said after the game, they were a little bit more conservative than they needed to be. He wished that he would have put his foot on the gas pedal. Now, I know that is something that you've brought up here on this show, a worry that you have with everything that Justin Herbert could be, but some of those passes were just silly, just absolutely silly that he was able to make. And when I look at that game, when I look at that score, certainly the turnovers helped. The defensive side of the football and Derek Carr turning the ball over did not aid the Raiders getting as close to where they needed to be in that game to win it. But I even think the Chargers left a lot of meat on the bone. And so when I look at them having the number 2 EPA per play while having a lot that they still could have went to in the well, that's when I say this is a really solid football team. I've got to put them in the top 5 because of everything that they can do on offense and how unstoppable that they can be.
Yeah, agreed. I moved both out at 4.
Who do you got at 3?
At 3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, low, high, however you want to say it, like this is a damn good football team. And the reason I'm like higher on them right now than I think I was probably after the Tyreek Hill trade and worried about what this offense will look like, because I think these rookies are ready to actually like add to this team. Like these rookies are ready to play in the NFL and not just play, but like be competent. Talked about McDuffie earlier, and now he's out till at least week 6, but should be back then. George Karlaftis, 70.4 pass rushing grade. He was getting after it against the Arizona Cardinals offense tackle. Sky Moore, 91.6 grade. It's because he didn't play that many snaps. But when he is on the football field, he's dynamic, adding as a punt returner too. Like all 3 of those guys are going to play a role and be upgrades over the guys that were in that role previously. Like there's no learning curve for those guys, in my opinion. They're all ready to be additions to this team, and that just makes the Chiefs scary.
No, the Chiefs are an incredible team. We all knew that. I'm not breaking any ground here on this show, but I do agree that the new additions, especially those young guys, are the X factor for them. It's why I've got them a little bit higher on this list. But my number 3 team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is a team that I predicted to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. I still think that is within reason for them. But when you look at the Bucs, absolutely dominant defensive performance. You know, all we talked about was Brady. Is Brady ready? Is the offensive line going to be ready? And those questions I think will get answered in time. I think the questioning Brady is absolutely silly because that's an obvious. But it's the defensive side of the football where you go, this defense is still elite. Number 1 defense on the week in EPA per play allowed. All 3 corners, I also thought that this was very interesting. All 3 corners graded above 67.5 in coverage. All Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, and Antoine Winfield Jr. You might say to me, Trevor, Antoine Winfield Jr. is a safety. Yes, but when they went to their nickel sets, he was playing in the slot. He got over 50 snaps in the slot as a slot defender this past week. This is something that is in Antoine Winfield Jr.'s wheelhouse. They're going to go to it constantly. He's a fantastic slot defender. Not a lot of action. Actually, no action. Didn't play any defensive snaps. Was Sean Murphy Bunting. Thought that he's going to get into the rotation at some point, but this Bucs defense, the depth on the defensive line, how the linebackers play. Devin White also had a really great game. Obviously, the secondary playing well too. The offense is going to get things figured out. The reason why I don't have the Bucs higher on this list, red zone offenses. You know, they kicked 5 field goals against the Dallas Cowboys, and I believe they had a red zone percentage scoring a touchdown of just 33.3%. Now, it's 1 week. Obviously, that's a small sample size, but you got to get better at scoring in the red area, especially when you go up against some of the better teams, the teams that are higher on this list that have shown already that they have full comfort in execution of getting 6 instead of 3. That's an area that the Bucs must improve on, and that's why I've got them, I say low as number 3 here. So who you got at number 2?
At number 2, I have the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
Reason being, Josh Allen, highest grade quarterback after 1 week. And do you care to guess what the Bills ranked in the NFL in terms of pass blocking grade in week 1?
The Bills' pass blocking grade?
Where they ranked?
Do I have to say like
a number? Where do they rank among 32 NFL teams? So 1 through 32.
8.
22nd.
Yo,
they were not good. They were legitimately going back and watching the tape, not good. But it doesn't matter because you have Josh Allen at
getting after him that bad.
It is Josh Allen at quarterback, unfazed. Anytime there is pressure, he's escaping the pocket, making plays out of nothing. Josh Allen is the reason that this team will go wherever they're destined to go.
Sure.
Because he is that good right now and raising the level of an offensive line again. That's probably of these 5 right now. The last that I take, like at full strength, when fully healthy, probably the least talented of the bunch, which is, again, gets made up for because you got Josh Allen quarterback. And then obviously defense side of the ball, fantastic. We've hammered that point home about what they did to the Los Angeles Rams, but it's Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things by the number 2 on this list.
Yeah, I will get to the Buffalo Bills in a second, but my number 2 team that I have in the NFL is the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 1 in the NFL in EPA per play. It's just absolutely unstoppable still. Until somebody can take down Patrick Mahomes, it feels like the rule that we need to have is that he is king. They also had the #1 ranked offensive line in the NFL in terms of total offensive line grades. So you absolutely love to see that. They put so much investments in the offensive line. They are producing the way that they need to. And as if any quarterback in the NFL needed more time to throw the football, it's Patrick Mahomes, right? The thought with Mahomes, unless you're the Arizona Cardinals, I guess, is that you don't blitz them, you try to get home with 4, and you drop guys back in coverage. You're rushing through, you're dropping it, you're doing something. You're allocating a lot of resources into coverage, and so there's more bodies in coverage than there are coming at the pocket. If your offensive line is weak, say like we saw with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, you can still get after Mahomes, you can make his life hell while still putting bodies in coverage. But if the Chiefs' offensive line is playing that well, teams aren't going to have that luxury. They're just going to be giving Mahomes 3.5 seconds to throw the football. And that's going to kill you no matter what. I don't care how many guys that you have in coverage. So that's why, for the combination of how good Mahomes looked and then how good that offensive line looked, it seems like they are countering and remedying what might be the only weak link in their armor. So I got the Chiefs at number 2. Who you got as your #1 team?
#1 team you got number 3 is Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's because this now, again,
I'm gonna give you the starter. I should have given you the Bucs creamsicle starter jacket.
Offensive line's banged up, but just listen. Here are the preseason ranks of their units by PFF heading into the season. Quarterback 1, receiving core 2, offensive line 4, defensive line 5, linebacker core 7, secondary 2. Running back room's the only reason you're like the only place in this roster that you're a little worried about. Everywhere else is loaded. And now offensive line, again, banged up. That's going to be an issue until they get back and healthy, until Luke Gedeke gets up to speed at left guard and that line gels. So that will be a bit of an issue. But again, defensive side of the ball, 5-7-2. That's what it looked like, right, against the Cowboys. It looked like a place or a defense that there was no room to attack. There was no area where it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to pinpoint the linebackers. We're going to know we can overmatch their defensive line. No, every part of this Tampa Bay Bucs defense is legit, and that to me is why they're the #1 team. Because of that, and then obviously the Tom Brady factor with an awesome receiving core on the other side of the ball.
Just a throwaway line. The Tom Brady factor. Yeah, I mean, you just factor in Tom Brady. That's fine. You have the Bucs higher than me. I never would have thought it.
I do.
Never would have thought it. But you do love to see it.
I said yesterday, no one said the top team when I had it.
Maybe I'm a coward. Who knows? I got the Bills at #1. I have to have the Bills at #1 for what they did to the Los Angeles Rams on the road to start the season.
Beat the king to the king.
The execution, yeah, they took a sword straight to the king. I mean, that's what they went for, and week 1 was fantastic. You mentioned how well Josh Allen played, how well that offense played, how much he trusts guys like Stephon Diggs and like Gabe Davis, and I think that we'll see the same with Dawson Knox as well. But I'm going to focus on the defensive side of the football. I mentioned this earlier in the show, or might have been last week, actually. How much the Buffalo Bills were able to get home with 4. They had 4 players who were in the top 25, really the top 21 of pass rush win rate. All of these guys were getting after the quarterback, and if that's the recipe you have, this is the counter to what modern defenses are trying to do from these alien pass rushers like a Josh Allen, like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Justin Herbert. These guys that can absolutely stretch the field, kill you in the passing game. Every quarter, every down, doesn't matter. When you can bring 4 and you can get after them, that's the recipe. That's what's coming next, and it feels like the Bills are reaping that reward. So not a good offensive line in Los Angeles. I want to make that very clear. But these guys keep playing this well. It's going to be tough for anybody to beat the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that D-line, again, not being able to blitz, not having to blitz is a luxury for every defensive coordinator, and so that is going to be the Bills' basically game plan. I don't think they're just going to blitz much this day. They're just going to rely on that front 4.